Okay, let's start this deep dive with something pretty much everyone assumes is true, right? That the whole point of everything we do, work, family, striving, it's all meant to lead to a happy life, enduring satisfaction.
Yeah, that's the bedrock assumption, isn't it? Contentment is held up as the ultimate prize, the gold standard.
It is. But then there's this quiet feeling a lot of us have. You look at your own life, maybe the lives of people you know well.
And that ideal, that calm plateau, it feels, well, miles away most of the time.
Exactly. There's a real disconnect. We have these ambitions, career, family, good relationships, and yet almost every week, sometimes every day, something throws a wrench in the works. The calm just shatters.
We're talking about the usual suspects, aren't we? Like power struggles at work that just grind you down, or maybe those anxieties about money or the future that just linger.
Or friendships feeling a bit thin, scratchy family stuff, all those daily battles. They create this baseline level of difficulty, the basic layer of misery, you could almost say.
And that's the starting point, isn't it? Because the goal here isn't some magic fix for all those problems overnight.
No, not at all. It's about fundamentally reframing what they mean. We want to look at why chasing constant contentment might actually be flawed.
And maybe find some relief by seeing our struggles differently, not as failures, but as, well, maybe signs of something else. Signs of a life aimed at exploration, maybe insight.
Altering the weight of the burdens, essentially.
Yeah.
Finding a new perspective.
Exactly. Which brings us to this idea of the misery sandwich. It's a really useful concept for understanding why things can feel so heavy sometimes.
Okay, the misery sandwich. Let's break that down. What are the layers?
Well, the first layer, the sort of bottom slice of bread, is that basic misery we just talked about.
Right, the everyday stuff. Traffic jams, a tough meeting, that argument that keeps cropping up, a project failing, the external pressures, the cost of doing business in life, you could say.
Precisely. The normal friction of existence. But then, and this is where it gets really crucial, almost instantly we slap on a second layer. The filling.
And this one's different.
Totally different. This one is entirely internal. It's the guilt, the self-criticism, the sort of self-punishment.
Why? What triggers that?
It's triggered by the belief that feeling unhappy, feeling stressed by that first layer, means you're doing something wrong, that you've somehow failed at life's supposed main goal, being happy.
So it's like, if I were really smart or sorted or successful, this wouldn't bother me. That kind of thinking.
You've nailed it. I shouldn't be feeling this way. We get unhappy that we're unhappy. It's this painful emotional knot.
A double bind.
Exactly. Caused entirely by clinging too tightly to this cultural ideal of effortless, constant satisfaction. And the result isn't just sadness over the initial problem.
It's something much heavier.
Yeah, it's compounded misery, a crushing sense that you failed. Failed at the single most important task we're supposedly set as humans, achieving that calm equilibrium.
Wow. So if you've ever felt, say, anxious about being anxious, or down about feeling sad, that's the secondary layer kicking in.
That's the misery sandwich right there. It's the result of holding on to an expectation of serenity that's, frankly, unrealistic for most people living complex lives.
And that expectation itself becomes toxic. It takes a normal setback, maybe your relationship ends, or a business idea doesn't fly.
And turns it from a disappointment into proof of some deep personal flaw. You don't just feel the pain of the event, you feel crushed that you, as a capable person, couldn't navigate life without hitting these bumps.
Like you failed at existing properly.
That's the feeling, and it's the direct price of that rigid belief in constant happiness.
Okay, so if that's the trap,
Yeah.
how do we get out? We can't always eliminate the first layer, the basic struggles. They happen.
Right, the external stuff is often just part of the deal.
But can we change that internal feeling? Can we stop beating ourselves up? Stop seeing difficulties as proof we're stupid or just not cut out for life?
That is absolutely the key. That's the pivot. We might not change the immediate struggle, but we have enormous power, really, to change what it means to us.
Oh, by shifting the whole paradigm, you mean?
Exactly. We need a fundamental shift.
For what to what?
We shift from seeing our troubles, our anxieties, our failures as signs that we've messed up,
Right.
to seeing them as signs potentially that we're destined for, let's call them interesting lives rather than calm ones.
Interesting lives versus calm ones. I like the contrast, but isn't there a danger there? Like, are we just dressing up struggle and saying it's good, romanticizing stress?
That's a really fair question. We have to be careful not to just, glorify chaos.
Right. We don't want people chasing drama just to feel interesting.
No, absolutely not. The distinction is key. It's not about seeking turmoil. It's about accepting complexity when it arises. The focus moves away from this goal of sort of settled certainty and quiet equilibrium.
Which can sometimes look a bit like just being numb, maybe.
I can, yeah, sometimes.
Yeah.
And instead, the focus shifts towards a life that values, say, exploration, psychological understanding, and just continuous striving, learning, growing.
So the difficult stuff, the tricky relationships, the internal conflicts, the complex problems at work, that's the raw material for growth.
It forces you to develop depth, doesn't it? You
Right.
build resilience, you gain insight, you develop kind of psychological muscles you wouldn't otherwise need.
Okay, I see the trade-off then.
Exactly. The trade-off is what you might lack in easy day-to-day contentment. You gain potentially massively in terms of insight, experience, wisdom, depth.
And that's a valuable exchange.
Well, it is if you see life less as a destination, a place to arrive at perfect calm, and more as a journey, a process of learning and becoming. You rarely learn the big lessons when everything's easy, do you?
No, you really don't. That reframes things quite dramatically. So we're talking now directly to you, the listener, if you identify with this feeling of being often troubled.
Yeah, the person who feels typically anxious, maybe,
Mm-hmm.
who gets to the end of the day feeling wiped out, shaken, like you've climbed mountains just getting through it.
If that's you, what's the message?
The message is you're not alone, and maybe you belong to a pretty distinctive group, a cohort that's, in its own way, kind of admirable.
Admirable. How so?
Because instead of feeling shame about the complexity, the suggestion is to approach it with a new kind of pride, not arrogance, but self-acceptance. A rueful pride, maybe.
Okay, a rueful pride. Why is that important? What defines this nature we're supposed to accept?
Well, it means accepting that for some of us, our basic psychological wiring means we're probably always going to see a cloud on the horizon somewhere.
You're never going to be totally free of worry.
Probably not for long stretches, maybe never spending more than, say, half an hour without some kind of distemper visiting, some unease, some difficult thought or mood.
And maybe never fully settling down.
In the conventional sense, perhaps not. Never totally accepting things as they are without question. Maybe not always making the wise, safe, predictable choices in love or work. Always exploring, questioning.
That description, I think that's going to resonate with a lot of people listening. It's recognizing that your tendency to maybe overthink or feel deeply isn't a bug, it's a feature. It is your nature.
And that's the relief, you see. The huge relief offered by this shift is these daily troubles, these agitations, the internal weather, that shouldn't be the main way you judge the value of your life.
We don't need to be constantly annoyed or disappointed with ourselves just because we feel things strongly or because life feels complicated.
Exactly. Stop being offended by your own internal landscape simply because it's not always sunny.
So we stop fighting the nature of the fight itself. We accept that struggle is part of our journey.
Precisely. The moments of grief, the background hum of anxiety, the occasional big screw-up, these aren't violations of some perfect life plan you failed to execute.
What are they then?
They are the logical and unavoidable consequences of having a particular kind of nature, maybe stubborn, subtle, curious, exploratory, interacting with a genuinely complex world. You couldn't explore and learn and strive this much without bumping into things, without friction.
That makes so much sense of the internal chaos. The turmoil isn't necessarily a sign something's wrong. It's collateral. It's the price, maybe, of having a mind that's deeply engaged with things.
Well put. It's the consequence of engagement.
Okay, let's take this whole reorientation, this idea of valuing interesting over calm, and apply that ultimate test, the one we all face eventually, the deathbed perspective.
Ah, yes, the final vantage point. We often imagine looking back from there, hoping to see this smooth, flat landscape of decades of peace and quiet.
But using this new measure, imagine you're there. Maybe the heart monitor's beeping softly. You've gained some wisdom, some compassion for your own messy, complicated life.
And you look back, and what you see isn't that flat plane. It's a roller coaster. Highs, lows, twists, turns.
Maybe multiple careers, big loves, big losses. Maybe, as you hinted earlier, you just got married for the 5th time, still trying to figure out that whole settling down thing.
Or maybe you see that business that crashed and burned 3 times, but taught you more about resilience and people and yourself than a safe, steady job ever could have.
So, standing there, looking back at that turbulent, complex, maybe often difficult life, what's the judgment? When the measure isn't, was it calm? but was it interesting?
The reflection might sound something like this. Okay, it definitely wasn't calm. For long stretches, it wasn't happy in that simple, easy way. But wow, it was truly and properly interesting.
And that feeling, that judgment,
Yeah.
could bring a profound sense of satisfaction, of
Well,
self-acceptance.
Absolutely. When exploration, striving, depth of experience, when interestingness becomes your measure of a life well lived, you can face the end feeling like, yes, that was worthwhile.
You realize that a good life, a valuable life, can absolutely include being, as you put it, fairly perturbed most days of the week.
That life wasn't wasted because it was difficult. It was deeply lived because of, or maybe through, the difficulties. Think about what you gain.
What do we gain, ultimately?
Well, we've stretched ourselves, haven't we? We've probably learned to speak up, find our voice. We've developed courage, resilience, qualities constantly calm, settled life might never demand or foster.
So maybe the final thought for everyone listening is this. If it isn't automatically appalling that a relationship ended again, or that a venture didn't yield the expected returns,
Right. If those aren't automatic signs of failure.
then what is the real measure? What if the insight you gained, the sheer psychological depth you developed because of the struggle? What if that's the greatest return, the real success?
Exactly. What if the wisdom forged in the fire is the most valuable thing you could possibly achieve? That's definitely something worth mulling over.